I'm your host, Tess Brigham. So let's start cleaning up this Gen mess. And I am so excited to welcome Sirena Dimas to the show. Sirena is a powerhouse employee benefits. She, pause. Sirena is a powerhouse in the employee benefits world, an expert at helping high growth companies and startups scale smartly while keeping their people happy. With nearly 20 years of experience and a gift for cutting through complexity, she's known for her honesty, sharp strategy, and ability to make benefits actually work. From California hustle to South Florida, from California hustle to South Florida sunshine, Sirena brings clarity, integrity, and a heart to everything she does. Thank you so much for coming on the show, Sirena.
Thanks for having me. I would like that intro. I'm going to feel it much
Sure, I'll send
better
it to you.
than anything I could do myself.
So, I want to hear a little bit about your journey because you've been in employee benefits for 20 years. And so what drew you to this field? What got you and what drew you to it and what keeps you passionate about it?
So I joined the benefits space in 2007. I was a young
Mhm.
mom. I had been working for AT&T. I had a union job, which was great because I had a little one, but
Mhm.
that job required forced overtime and a rotating schedule. And so an insurance agency was the first 9 to 5 that called me back.
Wow.
And okay. And I said, I don't know. Like, I went into the interview, I'm like, I don't know anything about insurance. I know I have a Kaiser card. I know when I need, I know that I push the number. I have my 650 number when I need to go to the doctors, and I know the advice nurse. And
Yeah.
the woman that hired me said, I like your personality. You seem like you can listen. We're going to work on making sure you learn how to listen correctly. And I think we're going to get along, and we're going to spend a lot of time together. So I'll teach you the technical skills, but the intangibles I think you have.
Mm.
That's
So
kind of how it
interesting.
started. And
Yeah. So
go
can I ask you a quick question about the listening? So what is it about what do you think they meant by listening? Like really listen?
um when she said something, if I didn't understand, I asked her what she meant
Mhm.
instead of just saying yes. Like, no, I get it, and trying to figure it out afterwards, because I think that's a human tendency of you don't want to say you
Yeah.
don't know. And it's okay to say you don't know, or let me find an answer, or I think I know the answer, but I just want to verify. As a human, it gives you more credibility, and it makes it so you get less white hairs because you don't feel like you're lying constantly. So I asked. There was all sorts of stuff
Mhm.
I didn't know. I just asked a lot, and I'm naturally curious. And so I think that helps support that, because I wanted to understand what I was being told. I wanted to understand what I was being taught or what somebody was expressing to me. But if I didn't understand, I was comfortable asking for clarification.
Mhm. So, and I think this is a misconception when it comes to the world of insurance, because I think obviously there's a lot of feelings about especially medical insurance these days, but about insurance and about what you're actually doing and what you're selling. Because it's interesting. I have these thoughts too when my husband and we've had the same insurance agent for a long time. And I'm like, well, you've really been through a lot with us. Like you realize that this role is someone that sort of is with you throughout your life and they go through whatever trials and tribulations you're going through and your priorities and such. So I always think that people think it's not a very sexy industry, but it's really about it's about people, I would think,
It's
right? I mean,
it's all people, and it's all relationship, right?
mhm.
I have a long sales cycle. My shortest sales cycles are in the neighborhood of 6 months, which to a SaaS person is unheard of. They're like, no, 6 weeks, right? And we're moving
Yeah.
through. I'm 6 months, 24 months sometimes to bring on a client. And it's the creation of the relationship. I learned a long time ago that as an insurance broker, you don't push paper.
Mm.
You sell an incredibly expensive promise. And clients used to get contracts in the mail. And now it's log in here and download a PDF, and your employees will get a little piece of plastic to put in their wallet, and it'll perform when they need it. It's a
Mhm.
very, very expensive promise, and it's digital. But
Yeah.
the products that I place, the things that I manage for employers, their employees need when they're sick, when they're injured, or when somebody's dying.
Hmm. So I'm sorry, I interrupted when you were talking about your journey. So you started, I was so you started so you this was your first like 9 to 5 job, which is what you needed with a little one at home. And then where did you go from there?
And so I stayed. I stayed at that first mom and pop agency and I did everything that I could do on service. I
Hmm.
learned how to market. I learned how to read plans. I learned how to solve claims. I learned how to make sure that, if somebody was having a transplant, that their surgeries were pre-authorized so that they could just go. I learned what care management was, what it was when somebody needed to travel to a center of excellence. Um, I learned how to talk to employers. I learned how to ask employers what they were hearing from their employees, and I learned how to teach employees how to use their healthcare.
Hmm.
And I learned all of that before I transitioned into sales.
And do you feel like that gave you this edge, that gave you this awareness that other people don't have?
Yeah, if you look at it, right, and I work in the mid market mostly. So if you're looking
Hmm.
at a 200 life group, they're spending seven figures. We're looking at like $3 million at least just on their medical plan. That's seven figures, right? You
Yeah.
don't become C suite and an executive in a company like that if you're not making your money work for you. You have a financial
Mm-hmm.
advisor, you have a financial planner, you're putting your money to work, you're treating it like the asset it is. You and I, as individuals, if we spend five or six figures on something, we're buying a house, right? It's an asset, it's
Hmm.
tangible. If somebody's spending 7 millions on something, it's an asset. A company should look at their benefits plans like an asset because that's what retains their people and attracts people. And their people are their
Hmm.
biggest asset.
Hmm.
And so when you shift your mindset as a consumer, because employers are all consumers on the contracting level, and the users, the employees, are all consumers in terms of they're the ones actually accessing healthcare. When you shift your mindset as that purchasing consumer from this is an expense to this is an asset, then you want
Hmm.
data and you want to know where the money's being spent and you want to make sure that it's effective and you want to make sure that your KPIs are being met and your growth initiatives are being met and you're doing everything you can as an employer to keep your top employees because they're the ones that are going to get you to grow and they're the ones that are going to be loyal and they're the ones that are going to get you to the next level.
Hmm. So I want to talk a little bit about what you've seen in the last 20 years about what are people wanting? Are people wanting different benefits now than they did 10 years ago, 20 years ago?
20 years ago is a long time. um,
Okay, 10 years, 5 years.
10 years, 5 years. So one of the biggest changes that happened in my career was the implementation of the Affordable Care Act
Hmm.
and the creation of free benefits, right, where
Hmm.
preventive services are now covered at 100%, and things like birth control, colonoscopies, all that stuff are covered at 100%. So that was huge. And that really impacted the group market in terms of what pricing looked like and plan structures. Before it was
Okay.
just high deductible health plans, like health savings compatible accounts that had your
Hmm.
preventive care covered at 100%. And it was an incentive to get you to go. Um, Over the last decade, as things have gotten more expensive, as companies have gone more dispersed, even prior to COVID, but definitely post COVID, where employees just work everywhere. Flexibility is the name of the game. So you're looking
Hmm.
at things like, can I just find a doctor anywhere I need to go?
Hmm.
Is my carrier tied to just the one lab company? And as you get into bigger companies, it's what's the formulary look like? How quickly are they adopting new medications?
Hmm.
Get into really big companies and the company decides what they're paying for in claims. The question this last 2 years has been, do we cover GLP-1s for non-diabetic conditions?
Oh,
And
that's
so
interesting.
it
Yeah.
changes, right? And it's an evolving thing. Post COVID, there's been a demand for stronger mental health services beyond an employee assistance program, beyond the mental health coverage that your health plan has. But
Hmm.
hey, let's put in something else so that people have easier access to counseling, so they have easier
Yes.
access to therapy, so that they can do the self care they need so that they can be optimal. And I want to say in the last 12 months, and especially this year, as inflation has continued, there's been more of a focus on financial wellness
Mm.
because we pay our employees what we can,
Hmm.
right? Market rate competitive salaries. We give them the best benefits that we can possibly give them. Costs continue to go up, and employers, if you've got, say, you've got 50 employees and you give everybody $3,000, that's
Hmm.
150 grand. That is not a
Hmm.
small number, right? But you can multiply that 50, 100, whatever, and you get an idea that these bonuses become quite substantial sums. But do your
Hmm.
employees know what to do with that? Are they
Yeah.
using it to pay off bills? Are they using it to start a little nest egg? Are they going and just eating out and ignoring some responsibilities? How do you educate your employee to be smarter financially? And this goes back to the fact that we're not taught finances in school,
Yeah.
right? We don't know how the stock market works. We don't really know how savings accounts work. Depending on where you're from and where your family's from and what generation they come. Like, I know people that still stash money under the mattress because you have to have cash liquid in case there's an
Hmm.
emergency. And I'm like, okay, right? So how do you bridge that gap to make sure that people understand the financial system and that they're putting away for retirement and a rainy day and if they need a set of tires?
Hmm.
Right? So financial well-being has been a big push lately. And that just, some of it changes, but employees are asking their employers for support beyond their paycheck and beyond their health plan.
Yes. Yes. And what I've seen is, because I work with various companies, and I think that people are always, shocked and amazed that, oh, wait a second, you're this therapist and you're there at our firm, and they're not using you, or no one's filling, and I think a lot of it is, I often say that the thing about mental health that's so hard is, you kind of like, yes, in an ideal world, you would say, things aren't, I'm stressed out, I'm struggling, this is going on, that's going on, and I should probably seek out and get help. But what happens for most people is they're in the midst of a crisis, and that's when they need the
Yep.
help the most. And I'll always say that, it's, and I don't know exactly what the solution is, but it's almost like you have to remind people every day in so many different ways, with whether it's emails or signs, or if it's in the bathroom, like, this is, if you are struggling, this is where you go, these are the resources that we have. Because I think companies have a lot more resources than people are ever aware of. And the problem is that they access them when they're in crisis, and sometimes when you're in crisis, the resources aren't exactly what you
Yep.
need, or it is, you're overwhelmed, so it's hard for you to think through, oh, okay, wait a minute, I should go talk to HR about what to do.
Yeah. Um, so one of the things that we do, that my team does, and that I learned early on in my career, is making sure that people understand what their company is providing them. And I
Hmm.
think the statistics, I have it somewhere, but I think it's like 16 to 18% of us pay for a portion of our own healthcare just as an
Hmm.
employee, right? That number goes up if you're covering your family, of course. But that makes you a buyer. So, how do you purchase if you don't know? So, I am a
Hmm.
fan of the old school open enrollment meetings and getting everybody in a
Mm.
room and making a presentation and looking at people and being quiet when I see them furrow their eyebrows or raise something or tilt their head. Oh, you had a thought. What is your question? Please ask. That's what I'm here for, right?
Hmm.
But people communicate differently, and I am guilty of being the generation that has this glued to them, right? And there's a lot of times where I'm like, this could have been an email.
Hmm.
I want the PDF, that I can navigate, or a flip book or something, that, okay, I have a question about this. Let me go to that page. And if I need more information, I'll ask.
Hmm.
Right. But older generations want to have a conversation. Younger
Hmm.
generations that are coming into the workplace have no idea, and they're like, can you explain that to me, because I don't get it, and they're not scared to ask.
Yeah.
Because so many times I've been in meetings where, okay, you guys, you're going to have questions. It's fine. Please ask your questions. It's literally what I'm here for. And then I'm going to write down all your questions. And after our meeting, I'll send out an FAQ based on what your
Mm.
company is asking me, because that way I understand where you guys need support. And then that FAQ grows year after year. But one of the things that
Hmm.
we do is we have open enrollment meetings, we do webinars, we do a mailer. Companies can get a call center if they want to. We have office hours. We do printed materials if they want printed materials. Otherwise, it's digital. They have an enrollment site. There's software
Hmm.
that companies can purchase if they want to help guide employees how to purchase a healthcare based on what their utilization is.
Hmm.
Right? There's like 7 or 8 different touches that we can do for a client to make sure that their employees get it. The
Hmm.
days of like, here's your package and an application and you have to turn it in by this day are gone.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is huge. And my guess would be part of that is just the world that we live in. I think it's far more complicated. It's far more intricate. And so you do need to ask these questions. But are you seeing that this younger generation, they're coming in and asking a lot more questions? Because I think when I first started working, I never asked any of these questions. You just wanted to know, how much am I going to make? And that was it.
So I want to say it started with some of my friends as also
Mm-hmm.
millennials, where after we had joined the workforce, let's see here, I got my first 9 to 5 in 2007, and I
Mm-hmm.
survived. 2008, 9, and 10, I was grateful to have a job.
Wow.
Downtown
Yeah.
San Francisco turned into a ghost town overnight. I was on the fourth floor of a building on Montgomery and Pine, right in the
Wow.
heart of the financial district, and I could look across the street, and there were entire floors that were not only dark, but you could tell they didn't have anything in them. They had taken the cubes out. There was just the floor of the building. I
Wow.
was so grateful to have a job that it never occurred to me to look.
Mm-hmm.
Right? My friends are getting out of school, they're graduating. The younger siblings that are closer in age to us are like, we can't find anything. We're looking at retail. It was so hard. I was so grateful to have a job. Um, that kind of taught me that when I started to look, because I did look, even though I didn't leave for many years, was to measure what I had earned. Right. So by being in one place for a long time, I earned a really nice PTO package. I
Mm-hmm.
had earned some flexibility because my bosses knew that the work was going to get done. So if one day I was like, I just can't people right now, I'm going to go take an hour and a half and I'm going to go for a walk and I'll be back later and I'm going to take a longer lunch because I just need the time. They were like, okay, we know
Mm-hmm.
it's going to get done. The clients are going to be taken care of. But that flexibility I had earned.
Yeah.
Right. And so that was
Yeah.
something that I took into account when I thought about leaving. Of, am I going to lose my PTO? Yeah, I'm not going to leave. If you're giving me 8 days of PTO less, I'm a mom. Right. And my time is
Mm-hmm.
vital. But these younger generations, and like I see it with my son who's 18, they're like, nope, nope, this is it. These are my hours. I'm done.
Mm-hmm.
A
Yep.
lot of his friends are like, I don't ever want to work in an office. I
Mm-hmm.
don't ever want to work in an office. I don't want to work from home. You guys are always stressed out. Why do I want to do that? Like, and I was like, oh, I was a young mom. I needed something stable. Was it stressful? Yeah, but did I have fun doing it? Sure.
Mm-hmm. Well, you're bringing up a really interesting point because my son is 17, and he said the same thing to my husband and I, because I'm constantly like, don't you want to be out? Like, aren't you excited about life? And here you go. And he just said, work doesn't look very good because he's just watching my husband and I stressed out, like running here, running there. And it occurred to me, I was like, but I really love my work. My husband loves, we both love what we do. We enjoy it. And I think, unfortunately, I think our kids are seeing sort of work, where we are during the day. And I didn't see my parents at work.
Yeah,
I had no idea.
not at all.
I knew them when they came home. this version of
Yeah.
them. And I do think that it's nice that people can be home and kids and all, there's some really great parts about that. But I do feel like he's gotten this view of what work is, that it is hard and stressful, and my parents and and we are stressed because you're asking us to do stuff for you, and we don't, it's like, no, you can do it for yourself. I mean, and I think in his mind it's sort of like, my parents don't have time for me, but it's like, no, we wouldn't, if world was different, we just wouldn't be here. You would be here by yourself.
Yeah, exactly. And like my husband's in IT. He's hung his own shingle much happier than when he was
Mm-hmm.
IT manager for a pretty nice sized company. But it was like this was glued to us, right? Like we never went on a
Mm-hmm.
vacation where we weren't checking our emails on our personal phones because we were in California. So there wasn't the rules that you have in other states where, you keep your stuff separate. So, okay, you can check your
Mm-hmm.
email on your phone. And even if you're on vacation, you're checking your email to make sure something's done. Even if you have backup, you're making sure that nothing's slipping through the cracks, right? I
Mm-hmm.
remember being at Disneyland. My oldest was 6, I want to say. We were on, I had made sure everything was done. We were on the tram going from the hotel to the front gates. And my phone starts blowing up and it's my boss. And I can't find this and I can't find this and
Mm-hmm.
it didn't send and it didn't send. And like she's furious with me because some application was sitting. And I'm like, I didn't send that. You did. I just wrote it down. And she
Mm.
goes, and she looks and she goes, oh, you're right. I'm the one that did send it. I'm sorry. She goes, enjoy your trip. But I'm not, I'm sitting at Disneyland with my kid on my way there,
Yeah.
and the anxiety is like churning in my stomach if I didn't do something and somebody's not going to get coverage when they're supposed to because it wasn't done correctly. And I swear I did it. Like I remember writing it and
Mm-hmm.
stapling the cover sheet. This was in the day of faxes. So I remember writing it and stapling the cover sheet to it and the confirmation that it went.
Mm-hmm.
And I left it to be
Oh
followed up,
yeah, I remember those.
right?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my goodness,
Mm-hmm.
it didn't go. Something got lost. This person's not going to get coverage. I screwed up because it's healthcare. And if they don't get it
Mm-hmm.
on the first, you have to wait an entire month. So then what do they do? Right? Oh man. I never should have been that accessible. My mom was never that accessible. She turned,
Yeah.
you know, that was it. She didn't have a cell
Well,
phone.
and this is very interesting because I think you're about 10, 12 years younger than I am. And I graduated in college in 95. And just hearing a bit about what it was like to graduate in the mid 90s versus the mid aughts, of just that 10-year period of how much things had changed and what the expectations were. Because yeah, we did not have cell phones. There's no way for my boss to get a hold of me unless she called me at home, and then I'd have to pick up and pick up the phone and talk to her. And so she wouldn't bother me. And there were lots of times where I'd be gone for a day or something would happen and I'd come back and you'd hear about some drama that happened, that whether, maybe just like that particular incident that you're talking about, most likely your boss would have flipped out and figured this out, but you would have come back and then learned, oh, we handled it like this. It would have been solved. It would have been fixed. It would have gotten to the other side of it, and you would not be a part of it because you were away. And I do think that that's one thing that the older generations don't realize is that millennials entered the workforce with this expectation of always being on, always being available. And what I think a lot of that reaction of what we're seeing with Gen Z is this reaction to seeing, wait a second, we don't want to be on this much, between their watching what their parents went through with, '08 and all of that. And then, oh, wait a second, they're expected to be on all the time. I think they're scared, they're scared of that in some ways. That's what I see. I don't know what you think.
I can see that. That's totally possible. I don't know. The insurance industry has been really good to me,
Mm-hmm.
right? And I'm a people person, and I am an extrovert. And my mom used to say I was blessed with the gift of gab, right? I've put it to use, but like some of my longest tenured clients have been with me 15 years, and we basically grew up together, right? There's a decision maker
Mm-hmm.
somewhere, but we got put into our roles of like step 2 from main decision maker
Mm-hmm.
and developed as women and as adults and professionals together and found camaraderie. And like one of my clients was a young mom like I was, and she's an empty nester now and all over the place. And she goes, "Girl, I can't imagine having an 8 and a 6-year-old." She goes, "But mine are, 16 and 18." She's like, "And I'm basically an empty nester. They're never home. We're the same age." And my other girlfriend has a 10 and or she has I think it's a 10 and a 7. And she called me when
Mm,
she was nursing with a teething baby and hadn't slept. And I'm like, "It's okay. You're going to get through it." And the next year, when I had a new baby and I was crying because I hadn't slept and I had to work, because I was calling her, and she
yeah.
goes, "It's okay. You're going to get through it." And so, yeah, they're my clients and they call me with all sorts of random things. And sometimes I can't help, but we've basically grown up with each other as professionals. And I've seen their
Hmm.
teams turn over. I know who their key employees are. I've helped them set up their human capital management system so that it actually fits their organization beyond what they're being told. But I'm like, hold on, you guys told me that you track this, and this is in my notes, right? And having those kinds of conversations. And so it's made me better as a professional having the relationship, and taught
Hmm.
me to listen better, because when I'm having a conversation with somebody and they're like, "Oh yeah, we need this, we need that, we need the other. Hold on a second, where's my list?" I'm like, "It's just going in the database, right? The things that you guys
Hmm.
need to track that's important to your culture, because then I can tailor my communications to that." And then I'm
Hmm.
sticky, and they're like, "No, I just want to work with you." Great, I love that.
Yeah. So that's back to what you were saying in the beginning of the interview, which is about this idea of listening, being trained to, because it sounds like what you were trained was, I was trained to listen for certain things, certain, and remembering them and writing them
Oh
down.
yeah.
Yeah. And I think that that's one piece about work that isn't, talked about so much, is part of why you pay an expert, why you trust someone, is they are trained to listen in a way that you're not trained to
Yeah.
listen. And I think that's really important. So I want to talk a little bit about your family and your house, because before we started, you were talking, your husband's a Gen Xer,
Yep.
you're an elder
Yep.
millennial, and you have three
Yep.
kids. So your oldest son is, he's a Gen
Yep.
Zer, and then your two little ones are alphas.
Uh-huh.
So what is life like at your home?
Um, so I took a mediation class in high school, right? Because we had
Hmm.
peer mediators, and I learned about I statements.
Uh-huh.
I
Oh
bring
yeah.
out I statements a lot, and I'm like, "Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on. Everybody's upset. Hold on. I need you to say, I feel this when you do this." And it comes out, "I feel that you make me feel it." I'm like, "No, no, 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 no. Hold on, guys. Nobody makes you feel anything. We're going to take a deep breath, right?"
Hmm.
And I had video games kind of growing up, and then my dad would kick me off of them and say, "Go outside, go play." I remember being bored,
Hmm. Oh yeah.
right? I think being bored is good for kids.
Yeah.
My kids want to be on a video game for like 8 hours on a Saturday and 6 hours on a Sunday. And I'm like, "No, sorry. No, go outside. Sorry, turn off the TV. I'm bored. I mean, you have toys, you've got Legos, you've got art stuff. Figure something out to do. Figure it out.
Hmm.
I don't want to hear it if you're bored. Go figure it out. Right? If you want to go outside, we'll go outside with you, no problem." They are like constantly bombarded. And like my oldest's high school, they all got iPads. So their assignments are all on the iPad. And I don't know about
Hmm.
you, but I have to write down my to do list, because else it doesn't get
Yes.
done. Like,
Yes.
I don't care if there's a digital to do list. Like, yeah, I can track my
Hmm.
projects like that, right? Especially if I'm collaborating with somebody. But my personal to do list, if it's going to get here, it has to come out of here.
Oh yeah.
Can't be I typed something, right? I think it's like my brain moves
Hmm.
too fast. And then my little ones, yeah, there's really cool programs out there to help math learning, to help reading learning. But they do better with the little counters or the cars or whatever it is that I put in front of them, where they're using their hands in an actual physical book
Mm.
in terms of decoding words and sounding stuff out. And so, but they get technology everywhere, and it's easy, and it's a game, and it's like, "Sweetheart, you have to connect the synapses in your brain so that you actually learn how to
Yeah.
do this. And yes, this is easier, but I don't know that easier means that you're going to learn it as well if you just do it this way."
Yes.
So let's
Yes.
just try this way because this way is what you're doing and that's your assignment, but let's spend an extra 15 minutes and do some this way too. So we make sure we're making those pathways the way they need to be. And they're like, no, mom, that's boring. It takes too long to get out. I'm like, I don't care. Right. And my husband, because he's Gen X, was like, you guys don't even realize what you have. I didn't get
Mm-hmm.
attention like this. I wasn't nurtured like
Mm.
this. I had to go find my own help. If I struggled, oh
Mm-hmm.
well, right? If I was doing well, okay, great, fine, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I'm here supporting you, your mom's here supporting you, and you guys are, come on, you guys, take advantage of your opportunities, right? And my kids
Yeah.
don't know what it is to develop film, right? Like
Yes.
my
Yes.
young
There's so many of these things that are so crazy when you think about it.
and
Like, oh yeah,
my younger
film.
ones, when they would get when they were little, I would, how the filters came out on Instagram and TikTok and stuff, right?
Yes.
When they started dropping like the little bunnies and the puppies and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And so the babies thought that was really funny.
Mm-hmm.
So they would be like, right. And then they would tap on the phones and like little, a year old or 18 months, whatever, tapping to make it. And so the thought of them not being able to see the picture that they're taking about half a second later, or
Mm-hmm.
that, mom, what do you mean that your printer is dead? Because I've got one of the little printers, and that they can't just print
Mm-hmm.
the picture that they took out right away on one of these little
Mm-hmm.
things, right?
Mm.
They're like, what do you mean? What do you mean I have to wait? I'm like, well, it's got to be charged. They're like, well, don't you just keep it charged? No, I don't use it all the time, so I don't keep it charged. Like, why would I just constantly have it charged? What's going on? And like we use reusable batteries on the video game controllers. If they don't put them to charge, you're not going to
Yeah.
play. And they're like, well, I'll just put regular batteries in because they just want it. And I'm like, no,
Yes.
that's not how it works. You can wait. It's not going to kill you.
Mm-hmm.
I promise.
It's funny. Back to the I feel statements. As a therapist, I taught my son, that I feel and no one can make you, all of that. But the best is when they get you and you're just like, well, mommy, I feel, and they use it. And
Shoot.
I feel this, and you're like, oh God, this kid is schooling me now
Yeah.
because he's using and he's, oh, you know what? And he will. He said, well, no one can make you feel anything. And I'm like, okay, yeah, you're right. I told you that.
Yep.
And all right, but they pick up on it and they get it. And those are, those are great skills to have. But it is this patience thing, because I'm not a very patient person myself. I've never have been. And I had to sort of, be patient because of my age and where I was in the world. But I too now find myself like, come on, let's go, let's go. Like everything can happen so quickly that you forget that, oh, this didn't all just happen instantly. And I think it's really hard for everybody to recalibrate almost their expectations of each other and what's going to happen, right? We have these, I think we've created a lot of expectations for each other and what we're expecting. And it's back to that, the expectation of, I can reach you, so I should call you, even though you're at Disneyland.
Yeah. No, I
Yeah.
agree. Um, One of the things that's cool though is that I don't remember having a lot of tantrums as a kid, but I remember one in specifically and not being able to communicate effectively with my mom. And I didn't know how to tell her I couldn't calm down. And she was like, you need to calm down. And I'm like, you're little, right? Like, we know now.
Yeah.
They're little people, big emotions, and they don't have the regulatory system to be able to do it. So I taught my littles how to square breathe.
Mm.
And their big brother will help them through square breathing sometimes, because sometimes they don't want me. Sometimes they don't want dad. But they'll also come up
Yeah.
to me when, especially the youngest one, he's been really receptive to it. And he's like, I can't control myself. I need help.
Mm-hmm.
And as the grown up, okay, that's it. We got to reset. And he's coming to me because I told him I'm his mom and I'm his safe space. And even if I'm upset, and even if I've said something 20 times, and even if I'm so frustrated, I now need to transition to safe space and we can come back and readdress the issue. But that's
Mm-hmm.
the millennial in me talking, because my Gen X husband is like, we told him 20 times, if he's upset, it's on him. I'm
Mm.
like, and
Mm-hmm.
it's not that it's a bad thing because he's so good with them. in other ways, except for tantrums, where I'm like, there's times where they're doing stuff and I'm like, I just told you 6 times and I'm gonna lose it. He goes, no, hold on. And he goes and he grabs him and he hops down to eye level and he goes, hey, your mom is talking to you. This is what she needs you to do. I
Mm.
don't have that. I'm like, but I told you to do it, so why aren't you doing it? Right? And like, kids
Yeah.
don't understand the, oh, because you told me to do something, you're expecting it to happen right now.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I
Mm-hmm.
came up with, I had the internet when I was in 5th grade, so I no longer had to go to the library to go research, right? I could find it on the computer. And then there was MySpace, and then there was, oh no, wait, there was Friendster. Then there was MySpace. Then there was Facebook. Then there was Twitter. Right? So it's like, I
Yeah.
got used to in my late teens and early 20s to do, and
Yeah.
forget that my kids don't have that. And he goes, babe, they don't understand you. I got this. So, like, you have to tag team because their brains are like and constantly overstimulated. And, like, even from cartoons, because cartoons now to the cartoons that I grew up with are brighter, louder, faster, more,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so he takes one piece and I take the other, and it works out. And we tag team. I'm like, can you talk? And he goes, yeah, I got it. And he'll be like, you need to talk to, yeah, no problem, I got it. Right? we just
Yeah.
we just walk away. It's like I can deal with a tantrum, and when they're not listening, he can connect with them in a way that I can't.
But you're making a really good plug for why it's important to have multi generations, in workplaces and places that diversity and differences and understanding things and all of that, that really absolutely, like, we need all of that. We need to see what oh, you're really good at this, you're really good at that.
Yeah.
So, because this is the Gen Mess, I would love to hear from you. What do you think? What do you think we need to do to sort of start to untangle these generational differences and create more connection at work?
Um. Okay. So once upon a time, I sold cosmetics, right?
Uh-huh.
And when you're in training, they tell you, you go through your presentation, you go through your spiel, and you ask, is there anything you'd like to take home with you today? And you hold your hands,
Mhm.
you put them in your lap, and you look at your fingers, and you stay quiet.
Mhm.
And the first person to speak is the one that goes home with product. And if
Mm.
you've seen any kind of transactional sales, the people in the mall trying to get you to, for your hair stuff, whatever, they ask a question and the first
Mhm.
person to speak is the one that ends up either keeping it or buying it and taking it home. Right. And I think it would be really great if in small groups it was, hey, we're going to ask you're going to ask a question, you're going to be quiet. And eventually the other person will speak because as humans, we don't like awkward silences.
Oh yeah.
And then that person's going to be quiet and you're going to be able to speak. It's almost like we need a talking stick in small
Mhm.
groups and start to connect that way because at the end of the day, we're all people. And the only thing people want is to be seen, to be heard, and to be understood.
Yes.
And if you, as a leader within your organization, can start to facilitate that, right? Maybe you start it within your own team, and then maybe you start it with the next level down in management. And then these people are like, hey, this really worked. And I had this kind of stressful relationship and we used to butt heads, right? And professional, but tense. Oh, but now it's
Mhm.
so much smoother. Let me go try this with this other person. And then it spreads because none of us want to be antagonistic our entire lives, right? We want to
Oh yeah.
get along and
Yeah.
communicate. And we're humans, we're designed to be together.
Oh yeah. We need each other.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like it or not, we do. We we do need each other. Well, thank you so much for coming on the show. Share anything with the audience that you want to share, anything you want to talk about or plug or anything.
Um, I should have prepared for this. This is the question I should have prepared for. Let's see here. Your employee benefits are an asset for your organization. They help keep your key performers there, and they invite new key performers to come in and join you. If you don't know where your money's going, if you need data, if you don't understand why costs are increasing, it's worth a phone call.
Mhm. Awesome. Thank you so much. And thank you for tuning in to the Gen Mess with Tess. Remember, we're fixing the Gen Mess one conversation at a time. Until next time, stay curious and don't let the Gen mess with you.